Welcome to the Mandy Froelich Podcast. I'm so grateful that y'all took the time to tune in. Today, which is actually the first episode, oh my goodness, we have Dr. Wendy Iszler, who is currently based in Rapid City, South Dakota. She is a chiropractor, a mom, all-around amazing person, intuitive healer, just a great friend as well, too, if I can just throw that in there as well. Like, you are someone that I love to just hear your input on things. And I think as you guys continue to listen to this podcast, you're going to recognize that for yourself as well too. So we'll include some links in the bio here of how you can connect with Dr. Wendy, but please do enjoy, and we're going to be discussing quite a few topics ranging from healthy masculinity, toxic masculinity, to the fact that you are worthy of love, to some other discussions as well too, that I just hope provide value. So let's go. First of all, I want to thank you for being here, and we can edit this part out, but just setting intention for this session. First, I want to express so much gratitude for you, for this friendship, for how much you've helped teach me, the healing that you provide me and my family as well, too. I genuinely think you are an amazing person, and I am so honored that you are the first guest on this podcast, which has come to be out of a lot of just like, I don't know if I want to do that, but the universe is pushing it, and it feels so right and delicious, and so thank you for being here. And the intention here is that we just have a conversation that provides value to you, to our listeners, that helps you find that signature talk that's just waiting to bubble on out, and to connect with people who have been waiting to hear a message that is coming out of this platform and this spin-off business that you're developing just by being you as well. So thank you. That's the intention.
Oh, Mandy, I appreciate you very much, because the things that we've discussed prior to today have been, they really have helped me evolve as well. I've known for years that I love chiropractic, but there's so much more, you know, and like having people in my space, in my clinic, in the healing space that I have is, to use the word, it's delicious. I love having people in there, and I really love when, you know, something's hurting and I can make a change for them, and they sit up after an adjustment and they go, oh, so much better, right? But in my own personal evolution, I feel so strongly that, you know, that there's things that people are withholding, like they're not saying, they feel them, but they don't know how to put words to it. And if we can access some of that and really just, I don't know, free more healing, it'll explode on an exponential path of people that will be able to just help heal more people.
Absolutely.
Right? So like hurt people, we know that, but healed people help heal people.
Yes.
And we just got to grow that.
I love that you say that, because that was one of my first revelations when I left South Dakota and I started working at holistic healing centers. And for the first time in my life, I recognized how good I could feel. I had no idea before, and that was the light bulb that switched. It was like, oh my goodness, I didn't know how good I could feel. I didn't know how happy I can show up when I feel good. I didn't know how much joy and motivation and purpose that just naturally streams through when all of these other things are in alignment. And I just wish more people had that experience and opportunity as well. And I think that we create our own opportunity too.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of mind shift around that has to occur for a lot of folks, but that's why having these conversations is so valuable, because that's where it starts, planting little seeds, allowing those to grow, allowing God to work on people's hearts. So yeah, I'm excited for what we're gonna chat about.
Well, and I'm appreciative that you are, I guess, self-motivated and also wise enough to figure out how to make things like this happen, because for me, it's like, it's one-on-one, you know, the patient is in and we have a conversation, and then we connect on a level that, you know, if it's something that I've been through and I can say, here's the steps, like, here's how we can go from this place to this place. Yeah. And it can be done and you can feel better. Like, that's wonderful. Again, delicious, right? I love that. But that's one-to-one.
Yeah.
And with this platform, if you can help more than one, and each one of those can help more than one.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
It grows exponentially, just like the healing centers that you talk about.
Definitely. And that's the mentality of abundance too. And I think that's why, technology, like everything, is a double-edged sword. But we can recognize that we have tools available to us that can amplify your voice, that can reach, thousands, millions of people. And with that, there is such a golden opportunity to just speak out, just share your truth. And I know for myself, I know most people I speak with, specifically healers as well, they have that question, why me? Like, why should I say anything? Who am I to have an opinion in this world that has billions of people in it? And I've thought on that hard and long, and I know that pertains to you. I know it even pertains to me with, even creating this podcast. And I think at the end of the day, the answer is you are incredibly unique. You have skills and gifts that are divinely gifted to you. There is so much good that just wants to evolve and come out in all these different ways. And there's no reason to limit your voice or your ability to share your truth and provide love, especially in a world where it seems that the extremes are what are amplified, and it's accelerating confusion. It's causing people to feel disconnected, and there's not enough people who feel grounded in their relationship to something bigger than themselves, who feel healthy in their bodies, who feel sound of mind, who have maybe opinions that don't go with either extreme, and instead they just want to have rational conversations with people, especially when they maybe don't agree as well too. But whatever happened to being able to have conversations about topics that, maybe you do get your feathers ruffled a little bit, but there can still be civil discourse. And that's hard to find, which again is why this is awesome. So, yeah.
Yeah. We don't have to agree. I still can respect you.
Absolutely.
I think that we tend to agree on a lot of things. But I have a lot of friends and a lot of people in my life that have dramatically different lifestyles, dramatically different points of view, like food,
that's a big
political, like they're very, very polarizing opinions. And God, I love to listen to them talk. And honestly, they've got a lot of valid points on both sides, even though they oppose each other. But if we can still love each other and have those conversations, then we can maybe grow.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Absolutely.
If we could just grow through a little bit and have, compassion for what other people are going through, and knowing that this moment in my life at this time, I feel this way. But I mean, I've learned so much in the last, few decades that I really was certain about a lot of things that I am certain that they were wrong now.
Yeah.
So, you just keep growing.
Absolutely. I love that mentality. I think that's a perfect bridge, too, into kind of getting more into what I was hoping to share with listeners today, which is more about you. And to start, there's a lot I could say, and I'll do the intro, I guess, at the end, because we kind of just got rolling into a conversation. I'd hate to put a pause on this, but you are a chiropractor, you're a mother, you're a healer in so many different regards, not even just chiropractic. Like, whenever we come see you in the clinic, you are providing nutritional support, and you learn from all of your team members, whether it be physical therapy or massage or these different products that can help. And of course, you're deeply intuitive as well, which I love. I think is so interesting. But that said, too, one of the things that I've witnessed consistently since meeting you is your ability to weather the storm. Like, whatever, can't curse here, but whatever storm comes your way, you're like an anchor in it. You're like, no, I'm going to sit through this. I'm going to feel through it, and I'm coming out the other side. And it's such an immense amount of strength to do that, and to just allow your heart to be bared open and to heal. And that's the way through, which is really difficult, right? And so to me, that's just, I think there's so many things I want you to talk about, but I just had to put that there. And so maybe tell us a bit more about your background and how you got interested in chiropractic, and maybe your personal relationship too with sitting through emotions to heal. That's a lot, but I mean, I'm all yours.
I mean, it is, but we've had a lot of conversations over the last couple of years, and you have been witness to several storms. But a long time ago, I read, God doesn't give you things that you can't handle, right? And I made a lot of jokes about that for a long time. Like, okay, so he could lower his standards a smidge, right? That'd be great. I'd appreciate it if he would just like lower it so that I didn't have to. But you know, I'm grateful for every single bit of heartache that I have had. And I'm just taking a moment to kind of reflect on that because, you know, as you were talking, I was like, yeah. Okay, yeah. I have had my fair share, but again, another thing that it may be cliche, but I seem to love them is, you know, like the strong women I know didn't get that way because shit was easy.
Amen, yeah.
You know, and so I think I started out, my grandparents were Depression era, right? And so they didn't have a lot. And I think that their lives were challenging. You know, when my grandma, when she finally did get, I guess, hurt enough to leave her house, and they cleaned it out, she saved bread bags, right? And Funyun bags, because that would be a really good, you know, you could store things in there, right? And I just think, oh my gosh, how wasteful am I that I'm not saving bread bags? Not gonna. But I also remember calling her and being like, well, my baby has a stomach ache. Like, why does he gets nosebleeds when he's wrestling, Grandma? Like, what's going on? And she'd be like, oh, he needs some ginger on his tummy, or like, you know, like you got to give that boy some iron, you know. But she didn't have a bunch of things growing up, right? And so I've been through some stuff. I've weathered some things, but in the grand scale of it, like, I think we've all weathered some pretty significant, I don't know, shit.
Yeah, no, you know, that's such a beautiful perspective too, especially because I think it's very easy to lean into a victim mentality nowadays. Not that I've, you know, I would say that you've done that, but I think that, I mean, all of us at some point, right? We're like, oh, you know, this is not fun. It's the ability to have your pity party and then also say, okay, what's next, right?
Well, and I do throw a pretty good pity party. Like,
I do too.
I'll go home and just sit in my bathtub and pout about it for a long period of time before I make any statements, because I'm like, I'm going to be emotional and this isn't going to work out, right? But the last thing you ever want to do is hurt people more, right? And so since hurt people, we want to try to make sure that we're really paying attention to what's happening. And, you know, you touched on a couple of things about, you know, why people do the things that they do. And I think that fear is a big one. Like, I think a lot of us, me included, we make decisions out of fear. And it's a lot of times deeper rooted fear than what we even think, right? Because there's a lot of stressors in the world today. Women are supposed to be all things to all people, right? And like, challenge accepted, that's really lovely. I like being able to go out and have a successful business and employ these incredible people and help people feel better and be a comrade to other incredible people. Like, there's some amazing business owners in this city that I'm just like astounded to know, you know. And then there's people like you that I see and I'm like, man, if I'd have known half what you know when I was your age, I'd be so much further right now. I don't know that, you know, with my Norwegian heritage, that I really grew as quickly as perhaps I could have, because I have a smidge of stubbornness. But I do think that has helped me weather the storms a little bit too, you know, because there's been times that I've sat around and thought, why am I doing this thing? Everybody seems to hate me, or I can't seem to make a living, or I've pissed everybody off that I've met, you know, like I've said the wrong thing again, you know, and we're the biggest criticizers of ourselves, I think.
Oh, 100%.
But I think if I come from a place of genuinely, I'm flawed and I've made errors, that allows other people to be like, me too.
Yeah, definitely. Vulnerability is, you know, it sets us free. I think Brene Brown talks about that often as well, too. Just being able to show up and say, you know what, this is me. This is the best I could do, but I'm super happy about it. And this is how God made me. And, you know, at some point, all the superficial stuff, even my worries about these things, they just don't matter. Like, in the grand scheme, they just don't matter. 5 years from now, I'm not even going to remember this thought. And I think that's really, really interesting to think about. And, you know, kind of a theme just playing off of that as well, too. Excuse me. with having those storms, weathering those, and then pushing through, though, is I just see it being very difficult for people to sit in emotion and allow it to actually move through them. And that's generally what blocks them from being able to move forward. And I know that as you branch out into your new platform, one of the groups that you're really looking to help are men, right? Men being able to sit in that emotion too and really break through and reintegrate sort of this primal, healthy masculinity. And, you know, it's like, it's not just men that have difficulty being in the realness and the rawness of the experience, but there is such a need for someone to step in and help with that as well too. And so I apologize if I'm kind of getting us off on different topics, but you know, could you speak to that a bit more, I guess, in terms of how you intention on translating just what you know so intuitively with how to help people heal and your background, but also this need for helping to help men become men again? Like, how do you see that?
Well, I've spent some time there. And to back up one sec, the reason I became a chiropractor is because I wrecked a car, right? And everything hurt. And my son was in the car with me when we wrecked, and he was just kind of crabby. And so I went to the chiropractor because I couldn't get rid of my headaches. I was starting to get some weakness, and then he helped me feel better. And I'm like, my son was in the car. Can he come too? And he's like, oh, sure. And he just did like little light things. And that kiddo slept so well. And he's just always had the sweetest little disposition. And he was calmer. And I just thought, what is that? What is that, right? And so then I asked him if I could follow him for a day, and he let me. And I went into his office. His name was Dr. David Brown, and he was in Bismarck, North Dakota, and I could not be more grateful for him, because in that one day, I saw him treat everything from newborn babies to people that came in wheelchairs, and I just thought, what is this, right? And so when I had gotten adjusted, he helped me feel better, and I wasn't even really believing what he was saying, right? And so I thought, this isn't a thing that I want to do. This is a thing that I have to do.
Yeah.
Like this, I have to do this. And, you know, I went back to school, and I threw up in the bathroom on my first day because I was like, this is not going to be easy. Couldn't find my locker. Everybody's 10 years younger than me, and I'm like, this is bad. And so I got through that, right, for the support of my family, and I just did what I did, and I went every day, and I got through. And then I find myself in a treatment room, and I remember a lady one day saying to me, and I was only a year or two into my career, and she was like, you really have it together. Like, you're a doctor, and you're, you know, and she said all these incredibly, really kind things to me, and I was floored. I just thought, I'm such a mess. Like, I'm just like praying that you feel better, because I'm pulling everything I can think of to try to help, even though I don't know that I even know what I'm doing, right? I've only been doing this a couple of years, and I'm just like going back to every book I ever read and trying to figure out what, and asking the other doctors that I work with, and I'm just like, I'm feeling like I'm holding on by a thread.
Yeah.
And this amazing lady comes in, and because her headache felt better, which wasn't that hard for me, right?
Yeah.
Like, I didn't think it was that bad. She was like lavishing me in these kind words, and I just felt so unworthy. I can remember how that feels, and I just thought, she has no idea what a mess I am, right? And so I thought, fast forward, how many other people feel that way?
Most of them.
Everybody.
Yeah.
Men, women, all of it. And this morning, I'm in my clinic, and I kind of hustle in really quick because my Jeep has an issue, and I take it to the shop because I do that a lot. And if I didn't abuse it quite as much, I suspect it wouldn't cost quite as much, but that's okay.
That's a bit after drives.
And she comes in, and she's planning her wedding. And she says to me, I think that dress is just way too pretty for me. That's what she said. And I'm like, hold the phone right now. Like you have no idea how beautiful you are. And I stop adjusting, and we sit down, and we just talk for a minute about, you know, at one point or another, you know, children are really great observers and really poor interpreters. And at one point or another, when she was little, she believed that she wasn't beautiful.
Yeah.
And she was wrong about that. And so to bring this conversation back to what you asked me, we sat together and I said, on some level, you agree with that. Mm-hmm. But if you go back and you say, is it true? And really feel, your soul is in battle because it knows it's not true. Your little girl is afraid that you're not beautiful enough for this dress. But your soul is fighting with that because it's just not true. Mm-hmm. And your soul knows it's true, that you are beautiful enough for this dress, and that dress is going to look even better because you're in it.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. And so we had to just take a minute, and we had to just sit with that. And she cried her whole appointment, and I just loved her so much because she was brave, and she felt all of that. Mm. And that's where the healing comes from, is when you feel, you can heal it.
Absolutely.
But we don't want to do that because it's scary, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to drink, or we're going to smoke or eat or
gamble,
work.
All these different things. Work, yep.
Right?
Running and work, yep.
Right? And so as women, I said a little bit ago that we're supposed to be all things to all people. Yeah. But the one thing that genuinely calms me as a woman, and her as a woman, and a lot of women that I know, is when there's a strong man that can help us kind of bear that weight.
Yeah.
And him literally saying to her, you make that dress look beautiful.
Yeah.
Will change everything she felt in that moment. Right? And so I imagine that men feel inadequate too, a lot.
Yeah, absolutely.
So then they're running on a hamster wheel about what am I supposed to do, because I'm not really sure I'm supposed to do it. And in this country and in this time, we like to demasculinize people.
Absolutely.
In a really disgusting way.
We've, perpetuated this notion as a culture that women need to be the strong powerhouses and men need to take a back seat. And, I think it was fun for a while, but as I've even been realizing myself, we have our strengths and our biological desires and the things that we lean to, not saying that everyone fits into a certain box, right? Like, we're all different to an extent. But that said, we've stripped masculinity from men by saying you need to just sit down and let us take the lead. But in so many different areas, we don't either want to take the lead or we're just not. It's not our role, if that makes sense. Just kind of like how you said that there. I hope I'm saying that clearly enough. I don't think I am, but we need healthy, strong men just like we need healthy, strong women. Right. And together, we're always going to be so much stronger and more capable. And there's... Yeah.
I think women are these incredible powerhouses. Mm-hmm. And that doesn't mean that men aren't too.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And I don't want to sound ridiculous, but I love strong men. I love men. I think they're brilliant.
We need to celebrate them.
I do. I feel like we should. But that doesn't diminish me. Mm-hmm. Right?
Absolutely.
When my daughter was in grade school and middle school, that's a mean time. There's not a lot of nice stuff happening in grade schools and middle schools or high school. And I used to say, things to her like, if you have more than one friend, like lighting a candle doesn't turn out your flame. Like you can have as many friends as you want.
Absolutely.
Like there's lots of people that you can light up, but that doesn't take away from your own flame, right? Mm-hmm. Like I think that other chiropractors are brilliant. Mm-hmm. Right? Like, I think that other women in business are incredible. I'm glad to know them.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
I'm glad to associate with them and learn from them. When I go to chiropractic conferences, I want to be adjusted by somebody who's been doing it for a really long time. And I've had really great adjustments. I've had some ones that I'm like, oh my, don't love that.
Wasn't great.
Hold on. And then I've had another where it'd be like, that is life-changing. Like, I've heard chiropractors, like, saving lives, right? Because we're, like, making our, build each other's up and things like that. But really, like, genuinely, I've had adjustments like that where I'm like, that doctor is incredible. And that doesn't mean that I'm less than.
Absolutely.
And so if I can take little bits from all these incredible people in my life, and the patient that I had today, I genuinely took a moment after she left, and I was just like, thank you for letting me witness this amazing woman and what she's going through. And kudos to her for being brave.
Yeah. I love all of that. It kind of reminds me what you were talking about earlier as well, too, in terms of this persistent fear that's there. And I think that restricts our ability sometimes to feel that abundance is possible for all of us, right? There's this mentality of there's only enough for this many people. In reality, whether we're talking about from, financial perspective or health or friends or relationships, there's more than enough for everyone. And really, I think the root fear that contributes to those notions is I'm not worthy of love. And so something I've always been really passionate about trying to affirm to people, and I'm not always great at it, but is, you are worthy of love. You are worthy of love. You don't have to do anything right now. Just by existing, just by being here, the cosmic intelligence and divine amazingness of what makes up everything and is giving you light, that's looking through your eyes back to me, that's listening through this camera. It is so incredibly, I don't even have the words for it, but just we are worthy of love. We're not going to be perfect all the time. We are human, right? We're going to kick the wrong rocks sometimes. But once again, being able to have conversations and not just cut people out of your lives because at one point you maybe don't see eye to eye, it is very important. And so, I hope more people resonate with that, and knowing that you might not feel like you have, everything together. You might not feel like you look beautiful or handsome enough, or, you want to do all these things to fix yourself. But at the end of the day, these external changes will never actually yield that internal sense of peace of knowing that exactly where you are right here is where you're meant to be. And you don't need to do anything else to be worthy of love.
I 100% agree with that. I've spent some significant time in counseling. I joke that there's a potential for me to never get out. And I respect, there's a tremendous amount of counselors that I know and that I love, and I spent a lot of time with one in particular, and she used to say to me, bring that home. Would you ever, tell your daughter that she should deserve to be treated, right? And I'd be like, no, hold the phone. And she'd be like, then why would you let you be treated that way? Yeah. And I just could not get that concept for the longest time. God love her, she's patient, but because she kept saying it to me, and it took years for it to really sink in. Like, would I ever want somebody to say to my daughter, you're not good enough? But those are things that I would say to me. Yeah. And I think that kind of brings full circle. I think that men don't feel like they're good enough. And I also think that some men don't really act super respectful, right? And so then, and women.
Totally.
And I think that at this moment, pendulums swing and the energy flows. But I think at this moment, women seem to be not trusting men. Yes. And then we feel obligated to take over, right? Because one of the books that I read, and it took several years to really get through, digesting every word, every paragraph, every sentence is the Messiah Trap. When helping you is hurting me, right? And so we're raised by folks that maybe don't have great skills, on how to raise their kids, and then we become this product of I'm not good enough, right? And so then we extrapolate that out into our business, so then we just kill ourselves at our business, right? Or our family, and then if I'm not good enough, if I don't feel like I'm good enough, then I'm going to lash out at other people, right? And so then we hurt the people around us, and then they don't feel like they're good enough, and so then right? So it's this perpetuating wave of wound. But when we recognize it and we see it and we sit with it and just feel it, that's when it can heal. And that's what I think we can really, that's the moment that I think that we're in right now. Because, even in business, you want to focus your business on the matriarch because she's the decision maker of your family, right? It's been that way for 2 decades. Nearly 2 decades. And we're tired. Yeah. And so, we have been the decision makers for a long period of time, but I think that shift is rolling back, where we do want our men to be brave, right? And I'm a powerhouse for sure.
Oh, definitely.
And you're a powerhouse for sure.
I'd say so.
But that doesn't mean that we don't want that we want some weak, submissive partner.
Absolutely.
Or two women. I don't care. Like, if they're both powerhouses, that doesn't mean that one needs to be subservient, weak. They can both be brilliant, amazing women who are super successful in their careers. Yeah. Right?
We can each step into our power in a loving and authentic way. And stepping into your power doesn't mean that now you have a dominating presence over everyone else, right?
Right.
It's literally just
ebb and flow.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I'll kind of digress here. I have kind of an unconventional relationship in the sense that my husband is currently the primary stay-at-home caretaker, right? And that'll probably switch as well too, just because since becoming a mom, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is the best job. Like, I thought a career was like peak up here, but now I realize that this just overflowing amount of love and all of these skills I picked up that wasn't quite, right to put into these different jobs. It's just so perfectly curated for raising a family. Like, how crazy is that?
100%.
But just because I'm the primary breadwinner right now and he's a stay-at-home parent, like, there's still so much strong, healthy masculinity that he embodies on a daily basis. And I refer to him or defer to him. We're partners in every sense of the way, and I couldn't be as strong as I am or develop the businesses that I'm building if he wasn't as strong and as grounded in his masculinity as well too. Yeah, just to affirm what you're saying. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I've met your husband, and I think that he genuinely is flourishing under the love of his family. Yeah. Right? Like, that's beautiful. I know I was only at work for a half a day today, but I had some astounding patients. Every day I do, really. Yeah. And I had a new family with their 2-week-old baby boy today. And I was, I don't even know I was really touched by the dad, right? Okay, so this baby is perfect. He's delicious. That word, I love
it's your
that
word.
He's such a sweet just a little tiny pumpkin, and he's perfect in every way, right? Yeah. And mom lost a ton of blood when she was delivering baby, and they thought that they could potentially lose her, right? Yeah. And she was a trooper, and she was smiles from ear to ear, right? And she's such a great natural mom. She's just loving this family and loving this baby, and her attention is on baby. And she doesn't care that she almost died 2 weeks ago. She didn't even tell me about it.
Oh my
did,
goodness.
right?
Yeah.
And so then when it came to be dad's turn, while she's talking and while we're adjusting baby and we're doing all these fun things, I'm watching dad watch mom, right? And when it was his time and he started to talk, he's like, we almost lost her. And I'm like, I'm sorry, come again? Like, he's like, she lost so much blood. And he was so in love with his whole family that it was palpable. Yeah. And I just thought, that is the most beautiful masculinity that I have seen in a really long time. He's being vulnerable. Yeah. He's saying, this really scared me. I could have lost her. And he's so in love with his family that I'm just like, we need to nurture this.
What a beautiful example.
Oh my God, it was so beautiful. Like, I just thought, and I think I even said it before that, I'm so in love with your whole family and the way that you guys love each other. I can't even stand it. Like, I just want to eat it. It's so yummy and palpable and delicious. And that is the way that I think our future will really, as a country, as humanity, I think it just needs to be nurtured. Yeah. That it's okay for dad to be scared and sad that this was scary.
It's
right?
okay for men to feel. It's okay for everyone to step into that place of vulnerability where you acknowledge what's
and he was so in love. Yeah. And he wasn't trying to hide it. And I'm just like, yay! I love this, right? And this is a totally amazing young man who's like in his 20s, right? And there is a thing as toxic masculinity. I believe that is true. And I feel like usually those that get really mad about the word toxic masculinity are probably because they're a little on the toxic side. Yeah. I mean, there's toxic femininity too.
I was just going to bring that up as well too, right? Like there's ways in which we're disingenuous to each other. And I think at the end of the day, we need each other. We need to nurture relationships with each other. We need to be willing to sit down and do the hard work and listen more than we talk, which, oh my gosh, I am so guilty of not doing all the time. But it's
I think you've done a lot of that.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, no, you really have.
I'm trying.
you've given me a voice. You've allowed me to speak enough words to where you've heard my message. And my message is kind of fluid, right? Like it depends on I think that's part of the issue that I've struggled with over the last couple of years, because of course, you touched on this in the beginning, is why me? Why would I be qualified to help anybody else? But the truth is that all of us have something really, really valuable that we can share and do.
Yep.
So why not, right? Like I've weathered some storms, and if I can help somebody else genuinely feel safe enough to go forth, they might change the world.
Oh, I love that.
Right? Like they could potentially change the world. I named my clinic Solutions because I don't believe that there's just one solution for every single person. I love the adjustments, my favorite. I love it. Especially when people go, oh, that makes me beyond happy. But like they might have had an old whiplash and need some physical therapy. Yeah. Like they might not be able to tolerate gluten, and somebody should have a conversation with them about nutrition, right? They might need a massage. They might need counseling. They might need all of it.
It's one of the healthiest approaches I've ever seen, because, having been immersed in the holistic healing world for the first 8 years of my career, and thinking that there's one diet that fits all, or like this type of massage will fix everything, was such a narrow viewpoint. And there are so many different factors that affect our health and mental well-being and physical well-being, and all the different myriad of ways that we can be healthy, right? So understanding that there's nuance, there's never a one-size-fits-all solution, is, I just honor it. I think it's really wise. I love just every part of how you've built your business, honestly. We've talked about, even from the intentionality of the dandelion and planting seeds in that regard, to how you've cultivated a space that is just so healing that when you walk into it, you're like, oh man, I haven't even been adjusted yet. I just feel better being here. Like that is such a gift that you've provided to people.
I genuinely appreciate that.
Absolutely.
When I opened, the first day that I opened, I mean, shit show isn't appropriate. Like, oh my gosh, I don't know that I hooked up the credit card thing that went to the internet, and the computer wouldn't talk with the printer. Oh, no. And then I don't know, my laptop wouldn't open my notes, so I couldn't make and then I didn't go to the bank because I forgot that people have to pay for stuff. Like, I don't know. Like, I just wanted to tell people. Yeah. And so at the end of the day, I was just like, what have I done? What have I done? Right? But I sat down on the floor. And I had just the best front desk gal. She was just the sweetest. And she's like, how are you? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't think I'm doing very good right now, And I went to take my daughter to dance, and I called my husband at the time, and I was like, this day was the worst, oh my gosh, and I get to dance to drop my daughter off, and she's not in the car because I forgot to pick her up, and he's like, where are you? And I'm like, I'm at dance, and he's like, where's Reagan? And I'm like, she's not with me, she's at school, because I didn't get her, and I was taking her to, it was just this fiasco, right? Yeah. And I mean, I didn't die. Like, I need a t-shirt that said, but did you die? Like, I really want one like that. Because I feel like some days I've woken up and I'm like, huh, here we are.
Made it through that one.
We're going to do it again, I guess. But that day, I took the very first $5 that came in, and I took it directly to the collection plate on Sunday, because I was like, oh, please help me. Like, this isn't mine. I don't want this to be mine. I just want to be a tool. Please make it what you think it needs to be. Use me however you want to. I can't pretend to know what I'm doing, because I thought I did yesterday. Yesterday, I thought I had this shit figured out. And today, I am sitting on the floor wondering what I'm going to do tomorrow.
So much wiser, though.
Oh, true. I did have some grays on that one, I think. But I've genuinely tried to be aware of the fact that the universe has its energy, and the people that are supposed to be in my life will be. Yeah. And if I can keep my hands out of the pot and just allow flow to happen, then the right things will happen. And I believe that, God is good to me. Yeah. And he's good to me on on so many levels that I don't know that I necessarily deserve, but I'm so grateful that he's given me the experiences that I have. I'm grateful for that day.
Yeah.
Because I've had some other days that were somewhat questionable too. What is happening? But I didn't die on that first day, so here we are. I did not die. I also surprised, but I didn't die. But so like that gives me the power to go, okay, this will pass.
Yeah.
And just like you said earlier, like in 5 years, am I going to remember that? Okay, I'm going to remember the first day because that was rough.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm so grateful for that day,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and I remember every patient that came in that day. I remember it was a great day. Now, then it wasn't as great of a day. Yeah. But honestly, those experiences have given me, I guess tenacity is a word that sometimes is a dirty word, but I'm not going to quit.
Yeah.
And if I can help other people, that comes back to the dandelion. Like I believe that dandelion is my logo because I can't pretend to be like this great physical therapist. I'm not a physical therapist, right? Like I'm not. I'm a chiropractor. And so I want to send to a great physical therapist. But how many people can that? Like Dr. Doris works in my clinic. She's brilliant.
Yeah.
And she's humble and she's smart and she's kind. Like she's so great. I can't do the things that she does, but if I can give a patient access to her, like how many people can she heal?
What another important message as well too, because again, especially as women as well, we're trying to be everything to everyone, like you mentioned earlier, and the weight of just having to exist in modern times and have myriad of different jobs and keep up with the busyness of it all is enough to make most people like a little bit anxious. Once again, going back to like, oh, I'm not worthy, everything's a mess and whatnot, but like one of the best pieces of advice I ever heard was just, we're all just doing our best. Like at the end of the day, just like have grace because we're all just showing up to the extent of which we can, like meet people where you can. And with the wisdom of, we have these different skills that God has gifted us that, hopefully come to fruition in all these different ways and in time, but we don't have to do everything. We don't have to wear all of the hats. We can say that, here is a vision that I've been gifted. For instance, like with this podcast, don't ask me to do lighting. Don't ask me to do audio. I just know that I'm going to sit down and have amazing people on, and I'm going to let, the wonderful people helping to facilitate this. Exactly. Yeah. So, I mean, I think that's just another really wonderful lesson that each of us can learn is you don't have to be everything to everyone.
Yeah.
And sometimes just finding those few things that really bring you joy, that light up your life, and saying like, I don't need to accept all of these stressors. I don't have to bear the weight of the world on my shoulders, but I can help, like in which you're doing, facilitate maybe some change for others and refer them to other people who have these passions to do these other things. Like what a blessing. It's really perpetuating even more abundance because it frees up your time to focus on what you really love to do, what you're really skilled at, and then it gives more abundance to other people who are trained and love to do those other things too.
Well, and I feel like if I try to manage what other people do, then it limits their ability to really fully express themselves. Yeah. And like, I'm going to use Victoria as an example in my clinic. When she came to me, she was pregnant and had a lot of headaches, and that was just sort of it, right? So we're just going to get her through. But then once she had her baby, then we're like, let's dig a little deeper, right? And that young lady she'd been buying ibuprofen in bulk at Sam's for years, and there were so many things that she was not aware of that we slowly went through one by one. Like she went to the doctor and they told her she was celiac. So don't eat gluten again and have a nice day, right? Like she didn't know what to do. I mean, how do you know what to do? Yeah. Those labels are like code words. You don't know what they even mean, right? So when we first got started, we did adjustments, that's true. But then we did some x-rays on her neck and found that she didn't have a great curve in her neck. So we did physical therapy and we did dry needling and we did massages and we, she started looking at allergies and hormones. She got rid of her bunny and we cleaned out the venting system. And then we really started to look at food and the things that she was eating. And honestly, she learned the hard way on every level because, a label says gluten-free or a label says, doesn't have gluten listed, but then there's code words for it and she'd be sick for weeks. Yeah. And so after several years of her kind of figuring things out, eventually she came back to me and I hired her, asked her like, hey, after you have your baby, do you want to come work with me? Because I think you're brilliant and amazing and I would really love to have you on my team. And so she did, but that's how we slowly kind of started like ticking away at what are the things that really really contribute to this headache. And after years of her exploring and figuring it out on her own with my help and with other doctors' help, nutritionists' help, and I mean, just she did it all.
Yeah, absolutely.
She came to me and she said, I think I really want to dedicate my life to nutrition. Like when I left the office and they said you're celiac and you know, like have a nice life, she's like, I didn't know what to do. And now I know, and I'd like to go back to school, and I'd like to, you know, help other people so that they don't have to struggle as hard as I did. And amen, right? I'm like, let's split tuition, right?
She is so wonderful.
She really is, and she's brilliant.
Absolutely. You know, and oh gosh, it just once again, kind of looping back to what you were saying earlier as well too. We each have these different storms, right? And we can sit in them and be like, oh, why me? Why did you do this to me? When in reality, I think we co-create scenarios for growth and learning. Sometimes those storms are the best catalyst for leading us where we need to go. And I feel the same way about nutrition to an extent as well too. Just having a difficult relationship to food, not loving my body, having developed eating disorders when I was a teenager, catapulted me towards realizing that, hey, my body is intuitive, it's feeling, it literally has its own intelligence, it needs to be treated with respect, and it is miserable right now, and all these different things are coming out as a result. And at the end of the day, like just like we would treat other people with dignity, I need to treat myself with dignity, and I need to look at what I'm eating, what I'm thinking, what I'm putting in my skin, and so it gives me so much appreciation for people like Victoria, who they're able to just keep moving through it and allow those situations to transform their lives and really open up these different paths that are going to enable them to help other people as well. Like, what a beautiful way to just embody. One of my favorite statements is, not everything that happens is good, but God will make something good come out of it.
It's true. Yeah. I wasn't happy about wrecking the car when I did, but I wouldn't have been a chiropractor if I wouldn't have wrecked the car that day. You know, and I know that, you know, Victoria's really, really struggled because she has been so sick. But when she had, I believe, her daughter's third birthday, she was able to, like, have a big birthday party. And she said that in years past, she was so sick that she wasn't able to really have a birthday party for her little girl. Like, how sick is that? And the fact that she got her life back. And that loving heart wants to help other people. Like, how blessed am I, right? That I get to know her and that I got to be a part of some of that. And so my intention with Solutions is that it far outlives me, right? Like, if we can put together a place that these amazing, brilliant, healing souls can fully express themselves in whatever their craft might be, then if I help one that can do that, how many more can that person help?
I just got chills.
Right, though, like that dandelion seed, it just blows in the wind, and who knows where they're all going to go.
Absolutely. What a miracle of life.
It's really a blessing.
Yeah, it's, you know, either we kind of put forth negativity or we try to just put forth positivity and let it ripple. Either way, you know, life is choice and experience, and got to get through it some way. So how can we choose to show up intentionally as much as possible, even if it's difficult, even if it's painful, and just continue to move forward, trying to do just a little bit better, you know, every day. It's a hard one.
Yeah.
So I have a question for you.
What's up?
As we were talking about men specifically, and I've talked to some men as well too to kind of get their perspective on this, and I think 100% most men do not feel worthy, and they also feel like they don't really have a place to stand right now in society. It's kind of like they're being told to go behind the curtain and don't make a peep, right?
Yeah.
It's exacerbating mental health crises as it is, and specifically in younger men who have even less social interaction with other people. It's I guess I'll just say it's not good for a variety of reasons, right? So if any of those men are listening and tuning into this podcast, or even you know, older gentlemen, what would you say to them in terms of maybe offering a little bit of glimmer of hope and light at the end of the tunnel, and that there is potentially hope, right? Like society, like you said, there's ebbs and flows. We need strong, healthy men. We need you. We need you to, you know, step healthily into your own power, your masculinity, and I wholeheartedly believe that, you know, those partners that the partner that you're seeking is is intentioning to line up energetically as well too, and be the type of partner that complements you. And there's so many different factors that have really thrown a wrench into how we culturally interact with each other and our expectations of each other. But I think it will reintegrate. But I know that there's a lot of desperation and depression around that. So if you could, what would you say to some of those guys that are maybe listening?
The first thing that I would say is be brave. Don't give up. When you are healthy and strong in your own masculinity, it sets us free to be healthy and strong in our own femininity. And we need you. So don't give up.
I agree. Thank you.
Yeah.
I just felt like we just need to cover that, because I feel like there'll be more conversations coming out of that, and with this platform that you're launching where, your business is an extension of you, just like all of our businesses, right? And ideally, it's something that you can create and you can let it take on its life of its own, and it's going to continue going out there and helping other people. And now, with the manifestation of that, you're developing this platform, drwendyiszler.com, that coming soon, that you are allowing yourself to essentially step on a stage and, like you mentioned before, have a voice and really put some of these thoughts out there to help people. Not with this, is in some cases, some people, think, oh, I know everything and I just need to have a stage and I'll do glorious things. It's really from a humble place of, I feel called to help people, and there's just this desire that, you and I have talked about. It's just like, it feels like God is just, flowing through us in that sense of, there are people who need, want, and obviously deserving of this love and these messages. And so it's developing itself in so many different ways. And I guess I had a whole line of thought there, but what I'm getting at is,
well, I have a response to that.
Oh, okay.
Because I'm feeling that
Thank
energy
you.
that you're trying to nail down the question, but what is the question, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know that there's a formulated question there, because the answer is an emotion. When I created Solutions, and when I decided I wanted to be a chiropractor, it wasn't something that I wanted to be. Like, oh yay, 200,000 in school loans. That's exciting. Vomiting in the bathroom at his college when everybody's younger than me. It was so fun. Anyway, but it wasn't something I wanted to do. It was something I had to do.
Yeah.
And now I'm at that crossroads in my life again. And I feel like the amount of gratitude that I have for these incredible people that have given me the honor of helping them, like the family that was in my clinic earlier today. They let me adjust their baby. He's 2 weeks old. Oh, he's so perfect. How blessed am I that they would give me that honor, right? Like, I just am so grateful. And the young lady that came in and told me about her wedding dress this morning.
Yeah.
Like, these are stories that have to be told.
Yeah.
Right? Because they bring it home for us. They make it okay to be vulnerable. They make it okay to not be perfect. And they help us to, bond and heal and become stronger and to help each other. I think there's that, sort of finish that thought. It's not that I necessarily want to try to figure out how to walk back and forth across the stage without falling down or to sit in front of a camera and not be like, oh, but I have to.
Yeah.
Because we need to be okay not being okay. And the change is coming. Yeah. And it can be for the good or it can be for the bad. And on my watch, I'm just gonna be as good as I can, and I've just really had some amazing people in my life. I still have people in my life that I'm astounded by. My kids, their kids, the people that I work with. I'm older than all of the people that I work with. And I just think that they are incredible. And I've said a lot of times, like, if I knew then, what I know now, that's awesome. Yeah. But how intelligent and capable and charismatic and astounding you are.
Oh.
Yeah, like, if you know that it's okay to do these things, like, you know that it's okay to do these things, right? You're brave, but not everybody knows that. So if we can give them a voice and we can say, don't worry, you're going to fall down, you're going to skin your knee, and we'll just, rub some dirt in it and keep going, and it's going to be fine. I've screwed up 1,000 times. All lessons are expensive.
Mm-hmm.
And that's okay. And I'm sorry for the things that I said when I shouldn't have, or I'm sorry for the things that I did wrong, and I'm sorry for the screw-ups. And I'm sure there's going to be more, and I'll be sorry about those too. But it's okay to screw up, and I'm sorry. And also look at these great things that we can still do, even though we screwed up.
Absolutely. It adds color to life too.
Oh, yeah, good colors.
My whole motto is to fail forward.
Okay.
Right. It's like, I'm not going to be perfect at everything, and there's these different objectives, and I'm sure at some point I'm going to look a little bit silly doing it, but I know that I have to start somewhere. It's like with anything, right? You're not going to become a brilliant painter overnight, but if you start and you just keep practicing and you do these different things and basically expect that at some point you're going to stumble, you're going to get there eventually too. And what I love about you is that you constantly infuse gratitude into just how you show up, like all of our conversations. And that is so valuable, being able to have gratitude. And I think that's a really important tool as well, especially when we are weathering storms as well, and being able to find just like, it's
got to be a silver lining.
Could be worse. Like there's these different things. And then that paired with the understanding of it's not always going to go perfectly, and it's not always going to live up to maybe the expectations in my mind, but we're not here to be perfect either. Like we're here to learn. We're here to forgive and to love. And the more that we can lean into that and really feel sometimes like I just don't have to be perfect how I've been taught maybe or have been influenced to think, the better we're all going to be. It's just so much less stress, and it gives us each the freedom to then show up authentically. And just it's people want that too. We're tired of all of the fakeness from, I won't even get into, from like a cosmetic standpoint, like everyone trying to be perfect in that regard, but literally to trying to show up super politically correct in every single scenario. I just don't think it's realistic. I think that we are colorful. Sometimes we have rough edges. Culture is a beautiful thing when there's differences, and we can come together and we can celebrate it and go, that's awesome. Like,
well, I'll be honest, like I have anxiety doing a lot of speaking out, right? Like everybody loves to hate a chiropractor, right?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I don't know that there's ever a chiropractor that's ever wanted to, cause somebody pain, but honestly, like there's aches and pains and all kinds of things that we do, and some of them are more severe than others, right?
Yeah.
But I'm also fearful, like saying we need our men to be strong, right? Because that doesn't mean that I don't want women to be strong too, but there's the cancel culture that makes me afraid of saying something that somebody might not like.
Yeah.
And then you run around in fear and you wind up stumbling all over yourself, and it only just exacerbates whatever the fear might be in the first place.
Yeah.
And so I genuinely feel like if we have compassion and gratitude and kindness and love when we say what we're saying, that, you're gonna fare okay.
Yeah. And
maybe the 80-20 rule.
for sure. And like there's a way to do it, right? I mean, that tactfulness is kind of lacking in our culture. Sometimes it's like, we identify so hard with the different values, right? It's like, for instance, when I was vegan for 8 years, I literally made that part of my identity before I stepped back and was like, I don't need to do that. That doesn't give me value. That doesn't validate who I am. I love vegan food, but I'm not going to go preach that to anybody anymore, right? I'm just going to say like, fruits and vegetables, they provide a lot of benefits. If you're looking for some more antioxidants or more fiber, like I love them. And in that same sense, man, I just totally lost my train of thought there.
Well, the animals, like a lot of times when you're coming from a space of vegan, you don't want to hurt animals.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. And so I don't know if this is where you're going, but I was thinking to myself, you know, like if there's so many deer that they run out in the street and they wound up getting smacked by a semi, like that's not an easier way to go.
Yeah,
right?
for
and
sure.
so if we have responsible hunters that are genuinely caring about the animals, and we have a specific number that we're trying to make sure that we're controlling a population in a way that keeps them healthier so that they aren't freezing to death or starving because there's not enough food, like that is a really nice balance.
Exactly, and it's all in balance. Thank you for bringing me back to my thought there as well too, just in the sense of, because we live in a time when people are trying to identify with everything, that's where essentially those blocks come from, is being like, well, I'm this way and you're that way, therefore we inherently disagree.
Right.
And oh my gosh, there's so much more complexity and nuance to each of us as individuals. Like, I think the idea of I fit in all these different boxes is just ridiculous. And
well,
eventually y'all will figure that out too. But
I gotta say though, for 1 second, it is probably gonna make people somewhat upset, but I know a lot of people that are extremely conservative and extremely liberal, and I love them, all of them.
Yeah.
Some I want to be not as close to as others, but the funny thing that I see when people get into their box is that they're an awful lot alike.
Yes, exactly.
Right? Like the ones that are super extreme in the liberal side, or the ones that are super extreme in the conservative side, they're yelling about the same things.
Oh my gosh, right.
And they're just as mean to each other. They're exactly the same.
Absolutely.
And so if we can maybe come away from the extremes a little bit and just have a little bit of kindness and say, this, you know, this vegan lifestyle works well for me.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's great.
Super.
And if you feel good, then you should.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're not hurting anyone else, like, please.
But there's
do your
thousands
things.
of different ways of thinking of that. Like there's even like a blood type diet, and there's, you know, there's so many ways of categorizing. Yeah.
Everything. Yeah.
And some of those things work really well for some people, but not for the other people, and that's
Absolutely.
okay.
Yeah.
Right. And so if you don't like guns, don't have one.
And once again, just, well, now I'm saying it for the first time, but that's a great thing about the country we live in, is we are afforded the ability to have differences of opinion.
Yep.
And like, we should celebrate that, not try to shut it down, is my opinion.
100%.
If you don't agree with how people are living their lives, like, stop paying attention to it, honestly. If they're not hurting anyone,
right,
I would say, like, just focus on your life. If they're hurting people, if you think there's, you know, ethically maybe you should step in, then be an activist, sure. But I do think that there has to be compassion infused with all of that.
See, there's so many things that just jump into, I want to listen for what you're saying, because I love to hear what you're saying, and I know that these are conversations that we've had before, and I think that as you're saying these things, I come full circle around again, right? And so I just lost my train of thought, but you were literally saying, like, be active in the thing that you are caring about. All that brings me back around is the vibration, right? And so I was gonna touch on vibration, because everything is vibration. Everything is waves, right? Like like sunlight is waves, sound is waves, color is waves. Your heartbeat on the monitor, it's all waves, right? And so when people are getting into this thought process that is circular, they're on a wave, and you will link with the wave. So if you see the negativity in things, you will be on the negative wave.
Yes.
And if you can rise above it, if somebody's doing something that you don't love, but you can rise above it, you can bring other people up to the wave.
Yes, absolutely.
And so you can elevate your own wave into a higher, healthier, joyful revelation.
Yeah.
Revolution? What is a...
I get you. I fully get you.
Wavelength, right? But you don't have to live there in the anger spot.
Absolutely.
You can, but don't bring me into it, right?
Yeah, and that reminds me, just once again, what we've touched on as well, too, of there's essentially two choices. There's love or there's fear. We have, you know, only so many minutes throughout the day. Are you going to choose to focus on the thing that you hate and give that more energy? Or are you going to choose to focus on the things that you love and try to nurture those and really propel that energy forward as well?
Right.
There's a time and place for all of it. Like, there's a lot of things politically, like, I'm not a huge fan of, and, you know, maybe someday I'll talk a little bit, but I don't like to ruffle feathers either. But I don't like the path that generally we are all walking down, which is why this podcast came to be. It's, you know, in 10 years... I probably would have wished that I would have said something, which is why we're sitting here, right? It's if I can help even just one person maybe think about things a little differently and go, you know, I'm going to choose to just pursue things that maybe make me feel a little bit better. And then from that, you know, I feel better. Now I want to give back a little bit, or now I've had this experience and now I want to help other people in this way, and now I'm not so angry and I'm not going to try and take this out on my loved ones. Like, that has a profound impact. And specifically with the younger generation, I feel like they're kind of floundering, trying to figure out their place and also just a healthy, grounded way to live in the world. And I don't think they have been taught how to do that. There's not really healthy parameters, not a lot of great examples in modern society. So I don't know, if we can give attention to the things that are going to nurture positivity, I think we'd all be better off, is kind of the whole thread of that ramble.
No, I think you're totally right. And there's a study on dogs that shows that we carry shame for 7 generations. We carry wounds for 7 generations. There's a video on I think it's on YouTube called Healing the Shame That Binds Us. That amazing counselor that I had told you about earlier, she introduced me to that, and I combed through that for several weeks trying to feel like what exactly it is that I'm carrying shame about, because I'm not sure, right? But we go, no, right? And we shame people and we shame our kids, but he's, and this is like from the 80s or something, there's a phone ringing in the background while he's walking back and forth across the stage, and he's like, can somebody get that, right? But he's like, ultimately he's saying, you know, our parents have children when they are too young to have children, because we don't have the skills, right? I'm 40 or 50 years old before I have the skills to have patience and grace and realize some of these things don't matter. Some of them do, some of them don't, but what do we pay attention to, right? But when you're in the midst of all the bills and you're in the midst of all of the responsibilities of being 20 with kids, 30 with kids, the mortgage, the car payment, and now the car breaks down. There's so many things that you're being torn into different places, right? Yeah. And so then you say, why'd you spill the milk? And you shame. And then that kiddo thinks, I'm bad.
Yeah, I can't make mistakes or else I'm unlovable.
Right. I'm a bad person versus that was an error, right? But the study that I was talking about on dogs is that they took a dog and she was fine. They exposed her to a trauma, and then she got pregnant, and she reacted to the trauma in a specific way, right? Not before the trauma, but after the trauma. But then her puppies would react to the same stimulus without having the trauma. And those puppies, after that, would react the same way. And the puppies would react the same way, and on and on and on. For 7 generations, even though these puppies had never been exposed to the trauma, they still reacted in the same manner, showing, for example, that 7 generations of us will carry shame, and we will carry reactions to things that we don't even know. And so I'm feeling stressed, I'm feeling anxious, I'm mad about something, but I'm not really sure what it is. I'm feeling like I'm naughty, right? Because I'm a little kid and I'm naughty and I'm wrong. I shouldn't be saying that thing, or I don't deserve to be loved, or that wedding dress is too beautiful for me, right? Yeah. But whose shame is that? And where are we carrying it from? And does it even ever belong to her? And have you ever seen a bride that did not look incredible in a dress?
I've never even once considered that a dress might be too beautiful
for
someone.
No, right? Me either.
Like, wow, no. But, I mean, what you're saying really hits home, though, right? If we think about even, like, growing up, and I know for, like, myself and others, like, seeing your mom, you know, like, a little bit of shame of, like, oh, you know, like, I have extra tummy fat or all this stuff, and, like, oh, well, I'm not supposed to have, you know, any tummy flub or anything like that, and then it's just, like, and it continues to get warped by what's being perpetuated in the media, and then it's...
For generations. And now we're in a place where our kids don't know whether they're coming or going. Yeah. You know, and we don't know, like, what is our purpose? And I think that is the problem.
What do you think our purpose is, individually and collectively, perhaps?
Well, my purpose is to empower people to feel worthy, right? And I genuinely feel like if I can help, you know, one person genuinely feel like the wounds that they were carrying that didn't ever really belong to them, those can go away, then that makes it worth it, right? And it's been a ton of fun in chiropractic, because if somebody comes in with a headache and they leave without one, that's like, I have purpose, right? But I think collectively, our purpose is to find purpose, right? And I think that individually, we need to help each other, because without purpose, there's no point.
And I fully agree, and I would honestly say that this growing feeling of lack of purpose and wanting to just step back and have maybe the government step in and do everything for us is fuel to the fire, essentially. Like, we need healthy social relationships, right? We need family around us. We need friendship. We need purpose. We need to be able to give back. I think that one of the best things we can do, in addition to being grateful, is to serve. Like, even if you're having the worst day, like, if you figure out a way to just serve someone, it makes everything so much better. And if we serve each other, more comes back to us as well too. Once again, touching again on just that abundance. If we can get out of this locked paralysis of fear and there's not enough and I can't do this and what will people think and all these different things. Oh, good. Honey, at the end of the day, no one has the capacity to like really stress that much about it. So we should just stop and we should just start looking at those things that light us up. And so often from the people I meet, that it comes from what you're doing to help others.
But recognizing that it's out there. Last night, at the end of my day, I'm searching through, scrolling through Facebook, and a friend of mine, I love her whole family, she says, her statement is, "My heart is very heavy today, and in response to that, I would like to pray for you. What prayers would you like?" And then, so I click on it, and I'm like,
love that.
Wow, what an amazing young woman, right?
Yeah.
And so there's so many things that people have responded with, like, I'm really worried about this or that, or like there was a little one that was laid to rest in a surrounding community, and the words that each of the respondents were saying with, "Please pray for me on this," and "Please pray for me on that," and then others would be like, "Wow, I'm touched by this. Blessings to you, prayers to you." And so I literally read through every one of them and was like, "Dear God, please help this person with this thing." And then at the end, I was like, what an amazing woman. Like, she's got a moment in her day where she's really feeling heavy on her heart. And her natural response is to say, "How can I pray for you?"
Yeah. How can I break my heart open and just pour even more love?
Right?
That is just one of the most wholesome things I've heard in a while.
Honestly, like, there's really great individuals out there.
Yeah.
And I think we need to just celebrate them.
We do. Absolutely. Yeah. We need to talk about it more too. Because I know that...
Happy news station.
Right? Coming soon. The more people I meet, the more I just realize that there are just some fantastic people out there.
Yeah.
They want the best for everyone. Like, truly... 80-90% of people I met, they just want to make sure that they have enough food, they can pay their bills, and they can follow their purpose, right? And then they want that for their neighbor.
Yep.
And if we can all just get along and do that, that would solve so many different things. But again, that stress and just life and the economy and all these different factors makes it difficult, but it's not impossible. And there's no way around it. It is a difficult time. I don't think anyone can really try to gloss over it. Like, we just came out of a pandemic. There's a lot of mental confusion. People have been isolated, and it's causing, I think, just a lot of heartache in a lot of different ways. Yeah, and even more fear. But the thing that I keep feeling through all of this, once again, is repeating myself, but not everything that happens is good, but something good can come out of it. And it's that heaviness and the weight of it that is allowing God's love to shine through even so much more powerfully. I am seeing just transformative things happening weekly, if not on the daily. And it's just happening organically. It's just part of the process that we're all going through. Our hearts are being worked on so hard right now because there is change coming, and we have the ability to invoke a more positive trajectory than what we're on. And most people I know want that. I think we're going to make it happen too. I'm optimistic, but I also I feel it in my bones.
But you're doing it. So
Trying.
On that note, thank you for creating a platform and recognizing all the amazing, incredible people out there and genuinely wanting to shine light on the goodness and take away some of the fear along this, like a side dish of, that doesn't matter so bad.
I appreciate that.
No, thank you, really. Thank you.
I'm basically, I liken it to slipping on the banana face first so that, get the laughter out, and now we can just like move on a little bit.
Okay, because when I envision slipping on a banana, I'm looking at a disc injury, and I really don't love those.
Okay, bad analogy.
Okay.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
Never mind. Not going to school with minor pants on. I don't know. Either way, failing forward in every way, but optimistic that we're gonna get through it. I have a lot of love for humanity, and I know you have the same. And just being able to witness and meet so many amazing people, like, there's a lot more good than there are like bad apples out there. And I still think there's hope for even the bad apples. But
we are gonna get through it.
Yeah.
There's a book. It's called Conversations with God.
I love that one.
Uncommon Dialogue.
Yeah.
I love that book, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in it is my favorite passage, and I've really come back to it lots and lots of times in my life, especially when something questionable is happening around me.
Mm-hmm.
And that is that, the guy is asking God, like, come on, what the heck? There's some messed up stuff going on. Like, explain this, explain that, And, God's response is like, bad things aren't necessarily God doing things to you. It's a lot of times it's an absence of God.
Yes.
And that's sad, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the part that I liked more was where he said, when we're in heaven, we are light, right? And in order for us to really understand the value of our own light, we need to be amongst darkness.
Mm-hmm.
So we come here and we get plenty of darkness, right? And so if we get the opportunity to rise above it and realize the beauty of our own light, then when we get back up to heaven or wherever our place might be, right? And we're surrounded by beautiful, glorious light, we still know the value of our own light.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the power of free will too, is we're given an opportunity to experience the contrast and choose to fall back in love with the light.
Right.
So we think, oh, why is this happening to me? But in reality, it's like we've strayed off into the darkness.
Doggone it, I'm the common thread again.
Bumping into dressers and like, who turned off the light? Oh, wait, that was me.
Wait, if everything's going wrong in my life, what's the common thread? Okay,
right.
all right. Yeah, it's me.
I do love that you referenced that book. It's been a while since I've read it, but wow, what a good one.
Yeah. I really love that book. And it's been a long time since I read it too. Years and years.
Yeah.
And so maybe I should go back and read that again. But
sticks with you, though.
It does. Yeah.
I just feel like that's a really good place, maybe even just to kind of like bring it back together in terms of we've talked about quite a bit, and I feel like I might have kind of jump between topics at the beginning, so I appreciate
we can edit.
your patience.
Okay.
And appreciate their patience too, and part of the process, right? But what a gift you are. Thank you for all that you do. Thank you for showing up here today. And I'm so excited to see what you do with your platform, Dr. Wendy Iszler, as well. And for anyone in the Black Hills traveling through, highly recommend you check out solutionschiropractic.com. Just as Wendy said, the intention of it is for you to find your solution. The beauty of it is that there are so many modalities which can help you feel better, which can help you just ground who you are too, and start to regain some of that motivation to find your purpose and live that purpose and give back. And just what a gift. So
I genuinely appreciate that you had me as a guest of yours, and I'm excited to see all of the amazing and brilliant things that you do in your career.
Oh, thank you. I sure appreciate that. It's been such a gift getting to meet you and just grow this friendship and business relationship as well too. Anything else you'd like to leave listeners with? This will not be the last podcast that we do, because I know there's so many other topics, so I'm just putting that out there a little selfishly. But for today, anything else you'd like to leave listeners with?
No, I think that there's a lot of things that we planted as seeds for people really to contemplate. If there's a take home from this entire podcast, I wouldn't necessarily put words to it, but I'd like it to be a feeling of pause, a feeling of relief, a feeling of, I can breathe for a minute. Things really are going to be okay. Like, we're all terminal. Like, this is a transient state.
Yeah.
We're souls with a body, not bodies with a soul. And I think we're here to learn some things. And if we can humble ourselves for a little bit and appreciate the beauty of all these incredible people that are also experiencing this with us, and just know that it's going to be okay.
Beautiful. All right.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. I really appreciate it.